Anyway, we're going to do a song. I wrote this song a long time ago, and about this time of year, actually, I was working on a ranch, like a dude ranch, and I noticed the wild mountain roses would always bloom, like in about here now, and then in June, and then they're gone, right? So that's kind of what it inspired a thing that you got to catch these things while they happen because moments escape us and then they're gone. So this is called Wild Mountain Roses. I cherish the sun as it sets on the mountain. I linger to breathe in the sagebrush perfume. How often I know I have taken for granted the work of creation, that it's for this bloom. Just like wild mountain roses that bloom in the springtime and then disappear for the summer is through. I cherish this moment while it is in season. It soon will be gone like the wild roses bloom. I treasure my man and the way that he loves me, the heart that is faithful, forgiving and true. With our busy lives, the time we spend together is not very often, it passes too soon. Just like wild mountain roses that bloom in the springtime and then disappear for the summer is through. I'll treasure each moment while it is in season. It soon will be gone like the wild roses bloom. I treasure my children as sweet as the sunshine, and I thank the good Lord for making them mine. I cherish each smile and each time that I hold them, 'cause they're only trusted to me for a time. Just like wild mountain roses that bloom in the springtime and then disappear for the summer is through. I cherish this moment while it is in season. It soon will be gone like the wild roses bloom. Well, I'll cherish this moment while it is in season. It soon will be gone like the wild roses bloom. Hope you like that one. It says a lot, isn't it? All right, the next one. I don't know who wrote this song. This is like a classic folk song. And I think, I don't know, it's been around so long, it's probably public domain. But so I got to figure out who wrote it. It's kind of cool song, kind of a folk song. As I went down to the river to pray, studying about the good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown, good Lord, show me the way. Oh, sisters, let's go down, down to the river, come on down. Oh, brothers, let's go down to the river to pray. As I went down to the river to pray, studying about the good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown, good Lord, show me the way. Oh, mothers, let's go down, down to the river, won't you come on down? Oh, fathers, let's go down to the river to pray. But oh, sinners, let's go down, down to the river, won't you come on down? Oh, sinners, let's 40 verses, but I put them together. So I really like that song. I love those old folk songs. Say so much, kind of cool. So we want to do one last one called Into the Sea. This is one that I didn't even know till this year. This one is written by. Can you see this written by? Let me see. This is written by 4 writers. Brian Fowler. That's why it's so good. It took 4 people, right? Keith Everett Smith, Micah Culper, and Tasha Layton Smith. So, and it's a really cool song. I'd never heard of it, but one of my little guitar players brought it to my attention and wanted us to learn to play it, and we did. So that was kind of cool. So we played this in guitar. I haven't played it forever, so we're going to try it. Have you even heard it? Kyle's never even heard it. My heart is breaking in a way I never thought it could. My mind is racing with the question, are you still good? Can you make something from the wreckage? Can you take this heart and make it whole again? Oh, the mountains that we moved into the sea, though the ground beneath may crumble and give away, I can hear my Father singing over me. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. I blamed myself, and if I'm honest, I blamed you too. But you would not forsake me, 'cause only good things come from you. Can you make something from the wreckage? Can you make this heart make me whole again? On the mountains as we moved into the sea, though the ground beneath might crumble and give away, I can hear my Father singing over me. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. From beginning to the end, you're so close, and you never let me down. You won't. In the valley and the shadows, I know you're so close. You're so close. You make something from the wreckage. Can you make this heart make it whole again? In the mountains that we moved into the sea, though the ground beneath might crumble and give away, I can hear my Father singing over me. It's gonna be okay. 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 I think it's interesting, the girl that she discovered this song when she was driving to her dad's, and she was going through a divorce. So this little girl picked that song as her favorite. So I was thinking of you, Joyce, while I was thinking of singing that. So anyway, I know that sometimes we feel like our mountain is crumbling, but God is always there. He's always holding us up. He never lets us go. There's nothing that we can face that Jesus isn't already there waiting to walk us through it. Nothing that we go through that he doesn't bring us to, that he won't go through with us. So that is comforting to me. So thank you, Kyle, for being here.
Duet act.
And next time Kyle's going to sing, right?
Yes. My birthday's coming up, Kyle. You better.
Kyle, you have to sing for Nana's birthday.
And maybe we should sing happy birthday to Bill Runner.
Oh, is it your birthday, Bill?
Well, not today. It's Friday.
It's Friday.
But
all right.
Saturday, and it's Saturday. We're celebrating it Friday. If you want to come and, I don't know.
Oh, did you know that that's Matt's birthday too? Matt, our Matt.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, you better come out and have breakfast with us.
I know. I think he has to work that day, sadly. We're supposed to go to his party. When's yours? Better be Saturday.
Friday.
It's
Yeah,
Friday.
mine's
What
Friday.
time?
Dick Patterson's home making my cake right now.
Oh, okay.
I think.
All right.
I'm not sure.
Now look in the paper, Sunday's Scripton paper, his picture. Did you see it?
No.
There?
I better
Well,
go get the Sunday paper. Is it
yes.
still out?
I think it's supposed to be Sunday and maybe
Tuesday? I'll go get it.
So, his picture's
I'll
in
go get
there.
it. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, we love you. Happy birthday to you and many more on Channel 4. I don't know if that's old, but anyway, that shows how old I am, right? Okay, so,
Daddy, wait a second.
yes,
Could I read something?
yes, please do.
I just read this before we came downstairs here, and there's one about how to wrap celery. But just a minute. Hold on. I know it's here. Okay. When storms come your way, just remember you know the master of the wind. When sickness finds you, remember yourself, you know the great physician. Remind yourself you know the great physician. When your heart gets broken, just say, I know the potter. It doesn't matter what we face or go through. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. He is everything we need.
Yeah, and remember last week we talked about how or maybe it was the week before that, how the disciples were in the boat and it was storming and he saw them and he went out to see them and climbed into the boat, and as soon as he did, the waves were calm. So he is always watching out for us, always rescuing us, and even when we think that he doesn't see what we're going through, he does. So with that, we're going to go ahead and go to our study for tonight. So we left off with a discussion about Jesus pointing out hypocrisy and saying we've been going through the Gospels, we've been going chronologically, we're going through the life of Christ. This has actually taken longer than I thought it would, but that's okay because we're really finding some great truths. And so we learned that Jesus was pointing out where the Pharisees were picking out hypocrisy and picking out little details and missing the big picture. And one minute life application study Bible pointed out when Jesus is talking about nothing that goes into your body will make you unclean, but only what comes out. What he's really pointing out is that we take such care of how we eat our food or what we eat maybe to be healthy, and yet at the same time it's hypocrisy if then we let ourselves watch terrible TV and garbage and junk and bring that into our mind, because that affects our spiritual health. And so that life application really had some interesting things to say about what Jesus was talking about with that. And he's pointing out how the Pharisees were worried about their ceremonial washings and cleansings, which actually the Lord gave them to prevent getting germs. And then they turned it into a religious thing. And people tend to do that. If they don't know God, they create some sort of thing that makes them feel religious because it's not real. But when you have the real deal, then you're less apt to get pinned up on all the little things. This week we're looking at Matthew 15, starting with verse 21. Very interesting narrative here, where Jesus actually leaves the Jewish areas and goes up to Tyre and Sidon. Now, if you remember, Tyre and Sidon were the Phoenician people, the sea people. They were very wealthy because they made their riches making purple cloth, and they were Mediterranean traders. They traded all over the sea, and before the Roman Empire, they were actually the masters of the sea. But they were eventually defeated at Carthage when Hannibal was defeated by the Roman general. So they, if you remember, they are related to the Canaanites. They practice all kinds of idolatry. They worship Baal and they worship Asherah, and they practice human sacrifice commonly. Now that's just not a fairy story. Remember we talked about when we were studying them earlier that archaeologists dug up many of these baby bodies in Carthage and proved that they were practicing the human sacrifice of babies. And they know this because they were all baby boys, and they found other things linking. At first they thought it was this mass plague that hid all these children, and they learned later after studying them that they were killing children for the sake of fertility and for the sake of the land and growing in wealth, which we are doing in our country. There's a big controversy, but we are also killing unborn children. So we're very similar in some ways to these people of Carthage. But Jesus went up to Tyre and Sidon, which is really an area that was despised by the Jews. So you have to know that. There's this big history there. They're always warring against each other. They're the Canaanites, related to the Canaanites. And so there's a big warring thing. So you know that when Jesus goes up there, he's on a mission, and he wants to show people that he loves those people too. So otherwise he wouldn't even go there. So if his mission was just for the Jews, he wouldn't be there. But he goes up there, and it says in verse 22 that, quoting the Bible, a Gentile woman who lived there came to him, pleaded with him, "Have mercy on me, son of David, for my daughter is possessed by a demon that torments her severely." Verse 23, but Jesus gave her no reply and did not even a word. And then disciples urged him to send her away. "Tell her to go away," they said, "for she's bothering us with all her begging." Now, this is really interesting. Jesus was not ignoring her. He's actually bringing attention to her, because you're thinking, what is Jesus doing here? And why is he even there? But he is actually using this woman to show that that his salvation is not just for the Jews. And he's using this woman in a very interesting way to say that. It seems like he's ignoring her, but he's not. He's actually bringing attention to her. Then it goes on to say, then Jesus said to the woman, "I was sent only to God's lost sheep, the people of Israel," which is just a test, because he certainly has said many other times that that's not the case. So what is Jesus saying? We know he came for everyone. After all, he came into this Gentile area to heal. He's going around healing and helping people. So why did he say this? There's a couple of things that different theologians think, and things that I thought about when I was reading it. I really thought, number one, he's trying to demonstrate the Jewish attitude toward these people. So he is like reflecting on the Jewish attitude toward them, because the Jewish people referred to the Sidonites and the people from Tyre as dogs. To show that he came for all, even those who are far away in a dark world. Now remember, these people practice terrible things. Temple prostitution, child sacrifice, awful, terrible things. So it's not like she's this innocent woman coming. It's just that she's a woman who's been on the dark side, and she knows it doesn't work. So she's coming to Jesus because she knows that everything that she has been pursuing is wrong. And to demonstrate, he does this to demonstrate her faith and her belief, and to affirm her salvation in front of all these people. So let's go on, and you can see how that comes out. Verse 25, but she came anyway and worshipped him, pleading, "Lord, help me." And she's asking him to heal her daughter, who's possessed by a demon. And probably there's a lot of demonic activity in this country where she's at, because they're practicing all these dark arts and spirituality of these evil spirit worship. So Jesus responded, "It isn't right to take food for the children and throw it to their dogs." Jesus again is pointing out the Jewish perspective. So he says, "It isn't right to take food for the children and throw it to their dogs." Now that sounds like an insult. But Jesus is really pointing out something very important, because that's what the Jews considered these people Gentile dogs. But he's testing her. He's seeing what she's going to say. He's doing it in front of all these people so they can hear how he responds. And Jesus does not think he's a dog. He's just showing the truth from the way that Israel looks at them, bringing up a little bit of the past. But he never ever condones sin. And he's walking into an openly occult area. And it's fairly common, as we read in the Gospels, for people to be possessed by demons. And I know there's a lot of people that don't think, they think they're just mental illnesses or whatever. But what we know that is in like third world countries, people see a lot more demonic activity openly and actively. And I wondered why we don't see it as openly and actively as in America, but we do. It's just more underground. More people that just think it's imagery or something dark, some dark art, like writing and movies about these dark things. But honestly, in America, we're so exposed to this gospel that if we really saw the way it really is, people would run to church. They would just run to church. And so in America, Satan and the demons know they have to hide underground a little bit, play around, play some games with people's heads. But it's really interesting, because when people get exposed to these things, in our times they've come running to us, running to our house. Different young people have run to our house after doing something stupid, like watching a really terrible, scary movie, and then maybe running out to a haunted house, like one that's supposed to be really possessed, and then running to our house crying and weeping and scared, okay? And so we've seen that people have been exposed to these dark things, and it's interesting that they come to us, just like this woman came to Jesus. They come to us because they know, wow, if there's evil, you better go to the good, right? You got to go to the people that talk about Jesus. And sometimes when they come scared and in this state of fright, you ask, okay, what were you doing? And they're like, yeah, we did dumb thing, and it might include a Ouija board or some stupid movie or some dumb thing that people do to have fun, right? And then they come to us going, oh my goodness, this is real, and I'm really over my head, and I have to say, yes, you are, but Jesus isn't. It's not over Jesus' head, it's over your head, but it's evil. And so that's the kind of world that Jesus is walking into when he's going to Tyre and Sidon. They're wealthy, so it's not like third world poor, but it's third world spirituality of idolatry. And so that's why when we read about all this demonic possession, that is something that was really happening in the time of Jesus. These people were worshiping entities represented by idols. And they had all these terrible rituals that went along with it. So this woman knew that what she came from was awful, but she knew it wasn't the answer. And when she saw Jesus, she knew he was the answer. So she came and worshiped him. It's not like she was just begging for help. She came to worship him. She was like, I know you're the truth. I want you. I want you in my life. And so in America, sometimes we think this stuff is all just, like writing and media and fascination. But in America, this is changing though, because people are moving away from God. Satan has to go underground and find conniving and oppressive ways to get into people's lives. Because he knows, if you've heard about the gospel and you know about Jesus, if you really could see how evil is, you would just get down on your knees and pray. But people don't see what they're playing with, and they don't see what they're tempted by. They just play around with it as some sort of entertainment. So today on the news, I saw some images in the media where young people attacked older or smaller people to rob them. In one case, two young men just like sucker punched this guy and took all his money. And I just got this sick feeling in my stomach. That's evil. That's Satan at work in America. It's here. It's just that we put different names on it, you know? And then I saw another lady today in the news just get knocked out cold by somebody for no reason. I don't think they even robbed her. They just wanted to hurt her. That's the underground. That is Satan working in people's lives who just delight in hurting other people. That's evil. And so sometimes we call it, I don't know what you want to call it, but that's evil. That's dark powers working on people and oppressing people. And so whatever happened to this woman and her daughter, whatever she was, or maybe her and her daughter were temple prostitutes, we don't know. We don't know how this girl got possessed, but we do know that you can't be possessed unless you open yourself up to it. You know, Satan can oppress you and mess with you, but he can't possess you unless you open yourself up in some way. There's a lot of ways to do that, but he doesn't just go in a door that isn't open. He's not allowed to. So whatever happened to this child, or this, we don't know how old she was. One version says her young daughter, another version says just her daughter. But whatever happened to her, for her to become possessed, it was a real dark place, and it was tormenting her. And the women knew. She probably went to a lot of different people to get help, and no one could help her. But she knew that the only way to get help for her daughter was to go to Jesus, the truth, the opposite of the darkness. And so this woman is now more aware of the power of evil than all the disciples that are pointing at her. So they're like irritated. Get her out of here. We don't even talk to people like her. Now, he doesn't say what she looked like. You know, I wish the Bible had more details, you know. It doesn't say how old the girl was. There's all these details I always wish I knew. I'm trying to picture. I try to do things in picture in my brain. But we do know that the disciples were like repulsed. And they're like, can you just, Lord, tell her to go away? And he's just, he knows the whole time that he's about to turn the whole thing over and show his love and gentleness and salvation and the power to overcome evil. And it says here, she replied, after he said, don't you know that I came, the children, don't take the food for the children and throw it to the dogs? But she has this incredibly wise and humble response. She says, that's true, Lord. But even the dogs are allowed to eat the scraps that fall beneath their master's table. So nowhere does she say, everything I'm doing is okay. All this evil is all right. She's saying, I just need a touch from you, because you're the master. And so she shows a couple things: serious humility. She shows Jesus is the Redeemer. She shows that she believes in him. And she does not pretend to be worthy, and asks only for mercy, which is kind of where we all need to be when we come to Jesus, to just realize our humility and to ask for mercy. So here's what's really cool. He says, get this, dear woman. He used a term of endearment. He didn't say woman. I don't know that he ever says this in the Gospels, ever other times. He says, dear woman, like precious woman. So she calls herself a dog, and he turns around and says, precious woman. Jesus said to her, your faith is great, and your request is granted. And her daughter was instantly healed. So what is Jesus saying about this? He's saying, just like I said, now you can see all the things. He's saying that in spite of Jewish attitude toward the past history, in spite of the past history of these people, Jesus came for all, even for those in a dark, dark world. And he uses her to demonstrate her faith and her belief and his willingness to save her. And not only that, he points out in front of all these people that she is precious. So that is the exact opposite of calling her a dog. He was just saying those things to get her to talk, to get her to show. He knows her faith. He knows where she's at. And he basically just affirms her salvation in front of all these people. So instead of an accusation, he shows her honor and he raises her up. And what he's really showing here is that he is here for the Gentiles and not just the Jews. And that was predicted even back in Abraham's time. When Abraham makes a covenant with God, he says, I'm going to bless your seed, and your seed will be a blessing to all nations. See, Jesus is the fulfillment of that. Jesus is not just for the Jews. He's for everyone. And this is a perfect example of a woman who came from a dark place and finds her way to Jesus. And Jesus uses this woman to demonstrate that regardless of darkness, he has the power to save. And that everything is under his authority. Everything is under his authority. We see the wind, the waves, the demons flee. And it says in Mark and Matthew, after that, they both record that Jesus then left that area after ministering to this woman and coming after that area, after healing those people, he comes back into Galilee and he heals all the sick and the lame and the blind see and the deaf hear and the mute speak. And in one situation, he heals a deaf mute and immediately he can hear and he speaks fluently. Well, the only way we know how to speak fluently is when we hear people talk, right? So Jesus immediately heals this person and he speaks fluently. And it says, all were amazed. And once again, the crowd begins to press in and follow him. And once again, as we continue in this narrative, he again feeds the people. And it says that he did it out of compassion. He looks at the people and he says, they're hungry. And here's what's interesting about Jesus. He's feeding them spiritually every day by what he's doing. But he does care that they're physically hungry. So that's a good lesson to us, that Jesus sees our needs. He sees our needs. He cares when we're hungry. He cares when we're sick. He cares when we need healing. He doesn't always give us what we want, but he definitely is watching out for us and caring for us. And he wants us to trust him. Now in the next week, we're going to see Jesus prepare his followers for the crucifixion. We're also going to see the hypocrites and the Pharisees following him around going, give me a show, Where's the big show? Do some miracles. Let's see, we'll believe in you if you do some miracles. And then he says, the miracle that I'm going to do for you is the sign of Jonah. And see, the Jews knew about Jonah. The Gentiles had probably no idea what he was talking about unless they were from Assyria or Nineveh, where Jonah had gone. But they'd heard. But the sign of Jonah was that he was in the belly of the whale for 3 days and he came out. So Jesus is predicting his death and resurrection. He is beginning to prepare the people for what is coming. And so it's interesting to read the Gospels in chronological order is very interesting because you see the compassion. You see Jesus healing people because he just has so much compassion. And then at the same time, he always says, don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody that I healed you. Don't tell anybody that I did this. And so some people think that, maybe he was trying to go incognito. Maybe he was tired of the crowds. Maybe he was just exhausted. But no. What he was really trying to do is just saying, I'm helping your body, but I came for your soul. So don't go around telling everybody that I healed you, telling Go tell them that I'm the way, the truth, and the light, and no one comes to the Father except by me. Those things he said for everyone to hear. So don't go tell anybody that I'm just the healer. Don't go tell anybody that I'm just the comforter or just going to feed you. Tell everybody that I am it. I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one is saved except by me. And in this particular event, we see anyone. Jesus came for everyone. There's not a person that Jesus didn't come for. But we have to make the choice to follow him. It's up to us. We can say, no, I don't want that, and walk away, like some people did. We're going to talk about other people later that turned away from Jesus, like the Pharisees, even though they had all that prophecy about him. All those things said by Isaiah, all those things by every prophet, they've read them all, they knew him, and yet Jesus is standing right in front of them, and they can't see it. And they can't see it because they're not looking. You know, Lee Strobel talks about it in his confrontation where he was trying to prove that the crucifixion was wrong and Christianity was a hoax. And he was trying to prove all that. And he proved that God really was what he says he was. And he came to this place where he just couldn't deny what Jesus was. He couldn't deny who he was, and he ran right into him. And he just saw for sure. And so he was trying to say, I don't believe. And all these things were coming to him. He talked to all these people, and he was still running from God and running from God. And at the same time, he was working on a case where he had falsely accused in the media a guy for shooting at a cop. And the guy had told him, I didn't do it. It wasn't my gun. My gun was in the bushes. And Lee Strobel said, come on, your story is horrible. So then he started investigating more, and he found out that the cop really had a pen gun in his pocket, and it went off and shot himself. He was trying to blame this guy. And he goes back to the guy, and the guy went to prison. They got him out. But he went to prison, and he got beat up because he was informer. So he's in danger wherever he goes. He's an informer. So he got beat up. He's in the hospital, and Lee Strobel goes to see him, and he says, man, I'm really sorry I didn't believe you. And the guy tells him, you didn't want to believe me. And so and that's the challenge. And then Lee Strobel realized, I didn't want to believe everything that's right in front of me. I just didn't want to believe it. And that's the same with the Pharisees. It's right here. I'm showing you everything, and you just don't want to believe it. It's your choice, and you don't want to believe. And that was one of the moments that hit Lee Strobel right in the face, and he's like, yeah, I can't run anymore. Jesus is the answer. He is the way, the truth, and the life. The resurrection was real. The death and everything. The forgiveness and salvation. And he's changed forever. And now spends all his life writing books to help other people come face to face with their doubts, which is pretty awesome. So with that, let's just close in prayer and then have a time of fellowship. And just remember that there's nothing that we walk through, no dark place that we are ever at, that Jesus isn't there, already there. Just like this woman who came, he knew where she'd been. He knew the things she'd experienced. He knew exactly how tormented her daughter was. And he was there. He went there just for her, because he went there and then he went back. He went there just for that lady who was searching. It's pretty cool, actually. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you that you're an amazing God, that you have command of everything. You have command of everything, and yet your biggest concern is for our salvation. And Lord, we thank you that you are the way, the truth, and the light. And we thank you that you take care of our needs and that you have compassion on us. And we thank you for your mercy. We thank you for all the things you do. But Lord, most of all, we proclaim the power of salvation that you've given to us, and we thank you so much for that. And help us to emphasize that in our lives more than anything else that you do, that we emphasize to people that you are our salvation, you are a comfort, and we never, ever, ever one day wake up without you. And we thank you for that. In Jesus' name, amen.
Climb aboard this train, step out of your sin. Climb aboard this train, climb aboard this train, climb aboard this train, and step out of